Hey everyone, this is Skylar. I'm back today with a really exciting video. I decided to do the unpopular opinion book tag today. I hope you guys enjoy what I have to say. I hope it's funny and all in good fun, and that I don't insult anyone either. I know I have some strange unpopular opinions, but I know I really like watching these types of videos. I find them really entertaining and interesting just to see how people's opinions differ. So I hope you'll enjoy this, and I hope it'll tell you a little bit more about me as a reader and my tastes in books. The first question in the tag is a popular book series or book that you did not like. I didn't really enjoy the Mortal Instruments series. Yeah, I know. Technically, I didn't really enjoy the first book, City of Bones. I read it about a year ago. My cousin is a huge fan. Hi, Melissa, if you're watching. And she wanted to get me into the series really badly, and I decided to finally read the first book. However, you have to understand that I didn't read it as a teenager. I read it in my 20s. I feel like it's just one of those series that's a little bit aged, unfortunately, and not for the best. The first thing that really bothered me in the first book was how negative Clary was with all the other female characters. I mean, the first interaction you have with Isabel is basically her seeing this character, Isabel, being like, she's pretty, I hate her. Like that, what? I feel like now we've made huge strides in the publishing, writing, and reading world to be more feminist and more forward-thinking when it comes to how female characters relate to each other and interact with one another. And to go back and read something like that from the early 2000s where a girl hates another girl just because she's pretty is like, oh, and like what even defines beauty and all this stuff. And because then you've got the main character Clary, who of course like has guys like falling left and right for her. Like obviously she's pretty too. Like I don't know why there has to be that type of like animosity between girls. Like it drives me crazy. It's not for me. My cousin was completely adamant that the series does get better and that Clary and Isabel's friendship grows and that there's not as much of that. However, I decided to go ahead and try reading the second book. I'm actually listening to it as an audiobook during my breaks at work. Right now, I'm like in the middle or a little further than that through the second book of the series. And still seeing that a lot. I still have an issue with some of the weird incesty stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about if you've read the series. And I know that that is not necessarily how it seems, but it still bothers me. There's just a lot that bothers me in that series. So actually, to tell you the truth, when the first movie came out, I enjoyed the movie. When the TV show came out more recently, I tried the TV show too, and I actually kind of liked the TV show. So it's not that I hate the story. I actually find it pretty entertaining. It's just the general interaction, the anti-feminist kind of underlying stuff that I have issues with, and incest is weird, no matter how you paint it. So yeah, like, I don't know. I can't help it. I'm just not a huge fan of the Mortal Instruments series. Like I said, I'm currently giving the second book a chance. So don't hate me. I'm trying. I don't think it will necessarily ever be for me. So that brings on the next question, which is, what is a popular book or series that everyone else seems to hate that you actually love? And I would not go so far as to say I love this series, but I just don't hate it the way that I think a lot of people do. And that is the ever so talked about Twilight series. And yes, this is the original paperback first book that I read back in high school when the series was absolutely blowing up. I didn't really want to read it. It didn't really appeal to high school me for whatever reason. But a friend of mine was just like completely determined to get me to read it. So I finally did. And you know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading the series like most other teenage girls did at the time. And in fact, a lot of young women and a lot of older women as well, as even, you know, my mom read the series while I was reading it as well. Like she got into it. Everyone was getting into Twilight at the time. And it has a lot of issues. Like, this series is not perfect. It has a lot of issues. It's brought up a lot of discussion points about male characters and how they treat female characters and how being a stalker is not sexy. No. And, you know, it's got a lot of underlying Mormon messages because Stephenie Meyer is a Mormon. And, you know, everyone comes from their different backgrounds and puts that into their stories. I think no matter what you do, if you're a writer, your background and your, you know, anything about you, your religion, your history, all of that kind of stuff, it ends up seeping a bit into your work. And I do find a lot of the things in Twilight problematic, but I just don't hate it anymore. I refuse to hate the series anymore because I enjoyed it as a teenager, and I feel like a lot of the hate does come from this thing where we just hate everything teenage girls like. Like, we just hate, we hate Twilight, we hate boy bands, we think it's all ridiculous, we think teen girls are overdramatic and stupid, and you know what, they're not. Like, I was a teen girl once. I want to write for teen girls, I want to write for young adults, so that's an important group to me. I think they deserve to be empowered, and I think they're allowed to like whatever they like, and I don't see the point in shaming and using, like, all this negative energy to hate Twilight anymore. It was a fun series. The movies are still fun to watch. Like, honestly, I've never reread the books, and I never read that sort of first book that was switched perspectives, whatever that was going on. I just didn't care enough. So it's, like I said, it's not a series I love, but I just refuse to hate it anymore, you know? It was so cool when I was in college to hate Twilight because we had all grown up so much and we were all writing majors, and it was like, oh, Twilight, what a piece of trash. You know what? This piece of trash made millions and millions of dollars for Stephenie Meyer, so, yeah, I don't think it's really a piece of trash. Why spend the energy hating it anymore? When it came to one that everyone hates, I just had to bring up Twilight, and I had to bring up the important topic that we don't have to hate what teenage girls love. Like, it doesn't have to be like that. We don't have to hate on teenage girls so much. There's some really interesting articles about that topic. Like, give it a Google if you've never read anything about it before. Like, we need to be better as a society and stop just letting these sort of underlying misogynistic things go on, including the hate of teenage girls and what they love. The next question is about a popular book series that had a love triangle that did not end up the way you wanted, as in the main character ended up with a different character than you thought would be best for them. And I have to yet again bring up Twilight. Now we're gonna get back in the day when there was Team Edward and Team Jacob. I feel like I should be telling this to little children. Once upon a time, there was two teams that split all the factions of young women in the world. But no, really, I was Team Jacob, which is super unpopular, so I feel like it's perfect for this video. At the time, that was the really unpopular team to be on. All my friends were Team Edward, and I was all about Jacob, and I stand to that today, okay? I still stand with Jacob. I think he was the healthier choice up until the last book. So many things went wrong, and it's so gross. It's so gross what Stephenie Meyer did to Jacob. Just gonna throw that out there. I'm allowed to say I don't hate this series and still hate parts of the ending. Let's go with that. But, you know, I still think he was the better choice. He's just a better person. I can't help it. And he's not a stalker. He's not a creepy stalker like Edward. So there you have it. Team Jacob. So the next topic is a popular book genre that you don't really find yourself reaching for. And when it comes to genre, I do tend to lean more toward magical realism and fantasy. I read mostly young adult, but within young adult, I have to say that I don't read as much contemporary young adult as I do magical realism and fantasy. So I did actually just recently finish Fangirl, and don't worry, this isn't an unpopular opinion because I absolutely loved Fangirl, and I've been slowly making my way through Rainbow Rowell's books because I just haven't read that much contemporary, and it's been a long time. And I guess, I don't know, I got to a point where some of the just sort of corny contemporary books, like really mushy love stories and stuff, like they just don't interest me anymore. I need more dimension. And for a long time, I think I was a little nervous to read Rainbow Rowell because I was afraid it would just be kind of mushy love stories. And her characters have so much dimension and personality and facets, and I'm loving reading these contemporaries, and it has inspired me. I think I will be reading more contemporary, but as it is now, it is the genre that I read the least of within young adult anyway. So the next topic is a popular character that you don't really care for. the truth is that the character that came first to mind was Jace from the Mortal Instruments series. I think a lot of people who've read that series think that he is just like so hot and so like ideal and just the type of guy they'd want to be with, and I just keep reading it and just going, no. I just no to everything. I really don't like him. I get why people like that sort of bad boy vibe, but he just seems like a jerk to me, on top of, you know, if you are at the point where I am in the first and second book. A slight spoiler here if you haven't read the series, but the idea of him sort of, you know, liking his own sister in ways that one should not. I'll never understand why everyone was okay with the first 2 books reading that much content of 2 people thinking they're related and still wanting to make out. So it's so uncomfortable. Moving forward, Jace is not a favorite character to me. I feel like he's kind of snobby and stuck up. He's rude to people. He's rude to everyone but Clary, and honestly, that is like such a red flag. Like, if you were in a real life relationship or you were dating someone who was rude to all of your friends, you shouldn't date them. Like, don't date them, because honestly, they're jerks. Like, that is what a jerk does. A jerk is not considerate of the people in your life that you care about. There's no reason for Jace to be such a jerk to Simon. Like, Simon is Clary's best friend. He should want to impress Simon. He should want to, you know, make Simon like him. It's just, there's so much toxicity in that. Definitely in the first book and going into the second book, I still feel it. Friends hating friends and girls hating girls and incest, and yeah. So I'm just gonna stop there. You guys know how I feel. The next topic is on a popular author that you just cannot get into. And honestly, the obvious answer that I've already been leaning toward is Cassandra Clare, but I feel bad about that because I really love Holly Black, and I know that her and Cassandra Clare are really good friends, and so I want to give Cassandra Clare more of a chance. From what I've heard and seen, Cassandra Clare also seems like a really nice and genuine person, and so I feel bad that I don't like her books that I've read so far, and I still want to give her a chance. However, an author I am through with giving chances to is the one and only John Green. This is the one that I'm most afraid that people will just like unsubscribe to my channel or like leave me angry comments, okay? I get it. A lot of people love John Green, and like maybe that's kind of died down a little bit because he hasn't come out with a new book in a long time. He hasn't been writing much recently, so maybe he's kind of fizzled out in popularity, but I know that he has a very strong following, and I feel bad. You know, it's another one I feel kind of guilty about. But these are the 2 books of his that I still own. I did at one point own more of his books. However, I've since gotten rid of them. I think what it comes down to with John Green is that he tries really hard to write about difficult topics and diversity, and he must succeed in some way because there are so many people that do relate to his novels and really like his work. However, I find that his work comes up flat for me most of the time. Yeah, the first book of his I ever read was The Fault in Our Stars. It's sad, I get it. I reread it this past year with one of my master's degree classes, and I had a lot of problems with it during this read through, so even this book does not hold up as much as I thought it did in the past. And then we've got Looking for Alaska, which also doesn't hold up as much as it used to. The first time I read it, I thought it was really funny. I enjoyed it. I've only read it once. And then I got really into researching Manic Pixie Dream Girls. I actually wrote an entire paper on it. It's a topic I've been interested in for a long time, but I began to realize that not only is Alaska like almost one of the original Manic Pixie Dream Girls in novels, but even Augustus Waters is a Manic Pixie Dream Boy, which is even rarer. We have these characters, slight spoiler here too if you haven't read these, so just a warning. We have these characters that literally die in order to improve the lives of our main character. It's terrible. Like, that's actually a terrible theme, and I think it was something I would have totally, I thought it was so romantic and so meaningful when I was in high school, and a little bit older than that, the beginning of college and such. And now I see it for what it is, which is literally, usually the Manic Pixie Dream Girl is using a female character to propel a male character onto a life-changing journey, which is exactly what happens in Looking for Alaska, and it's just a reverse of that in The Fault in Our Stars. And the truth is that John Green, all except for his book Looking for Alaska, this one is different, but the rest of his books seem to follow a pattern. It's like he follows the same pattern for every book. And it's usually, except for The Fault in Our Stars, it's usually about a young white male who is so, cool and diverse that he has diverse friends. You can see my problems here. And then something bad happens to one of them, or something strange happens to one of them, and he's propelled on a life journey to better himself. Like, it's just using characters. Often it's using female characters, and it's using characters of different backgrounds and ethnicities to launch a young white boy into a journey of self-discovery. I don't know. It doesn't settle well with me. You can disagree if you want, but the last time I picked up a John Green book, I just got so angry reading this sort of caricature of a few characters that were supposed to be diverse characters, and, I think John Green needs to do a little bit of staying in his lane in some ways. Like, there are just certain characters that he shouldn't write because he can't. He just can't. I think we've all outgrown John Green a little bit, and I don't think that he's as popular as he once was, and I don't think he will be as popular going forward. I'm really sorry if you find this really insulting, but it's my opinion, and I can't help it, and John Green, maybe he's for some people, but he's not for me, and I just wish he wouldn't make such caricatures of diverse and female characters, and wouldn't use Manic Pixie Dream Girl and boy characters to accelerate the journey of others that he obviously finds more important than them. Anyway, the next question is a popular book trope that you're tired of seeing. And I have to say, I haven't seen it like a million times, so I don't know that I'm tired of it. I've been seeing it a lot on TV recently, and I also have seen it now in The Cruel Prince, and that entire series, oh man, I cannot remember that series name. You know what I'm talking about though. It's the Cruel Prince series, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing, which I absolutely loved. I loved those books. I thought they were so good. The first book really got under my skin and drove me a bit crazy, but after that, I was on board and ready to go, and I get what Holly Black was doing, and I think she is a master. Basically, that book series has a very big trope of this sort of hate to love, characters that hate each other, but then end up loving each other. I find that trope overall really toxic. Like, I talked about this in a previous video, so I'm not going to go too deep into it. But basically, like, it's that whole, like, if he picks on you or if he hurts you, it just means he likes you that we kind of inflict upon young girls. And that's not true. If someone is physically hurting you or emotionally harming you or bullying you, it does not mean it's okay because they like you. I hate perpetuating that stereotype, and I don't really enjoy watching male characters be super mean to female characters, because it usually does go that way. From what I've seen in books and TV shows recently, it does go in that direction. It's always the boy character being super mean to the girl character, to the point of sometimes her getting physically harmed, like her life being at stake. And then a couple chapters later, or a couple episodes later, we're supposed to just be like, oh wait, I kind of like him and they should be together. Like, no, he like almost killed her. And I'm not talking specifically about anything, so I don't feel the need to put a spoiler like on that. But yes, in a lot of these series, the female character's life is coming into harm. And that does bother me when it goes, especially when it goes that far. Overall, it's not really a trope that I support or want to continue supporting, or really have any interest in suffering through again. So the next prompt is a popular book series that you have no interest in reading. And guys, the ship has sailed for me on the Hunger Games series. I never read it. Twilight was the first series that like blew up. And then the next one was the Hunger Games. That was like when I was at the beginning of college. All my friends were reading it, and I think I still felt really betrayed by the last book in the Twilight series. I saw the first movie with some of my college friends. I thought it was cool, but never saw any of the other movies. I'm just not that interested in it. So unfortunately, it's not really anything huge against the author or against the books. I don't know enough about them to say anything really against them. It just feels like the ship has sailed and it's not something that I'm really looking to go back and revisit. So the last prompt is if there are any books that you think the movie or TV adaptations are actually better than the book, because most of the time it is the book that is better. And funny enough, I actually have a few that I feel this way about. The first one is called Whip It. It was a movie, it came out, I don't know, quite a few years back. It's about roller derby and it stars Ellen Page. It's totally worth checking out. Drew Barrymore, she was in it and she also directed it. She's so awesome, of course. So I highly suggest the movie. I read the book and it was fun to read, but it just didn't have as much kick to it as the movie did. That is just a really well done movie. And another one that I feel similarly about is Carrie Pilbley. This one actually, I believe, is available on US Netflix. The movie was just better than the book. I can't help it. The movie was cuter. It had more resolution to some kind of terrible things that happened to the main character. The movie isn't overly happy. It's not like I need a happy ending, but it just felt more resolved. And the book also had a lot more religion in it, which isn't something that that I necessarily needed. So I feel like I just enjoyed the kind of cynical nature of the movie more, plus the more resolved ending. But the book that's always going to kind of be the top tier of a movie being better than a book for me is, unfortunately, I feel like, Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. Yeah. I love the movie. I've loved the movie for a long time, and I didn't know that it was a book until a couple years ago. And I was watching the movie like I do almost every Halloween, and sometimes multiple other times a year, because it is just the best movie ever. I saw on the credits that it was based off of the novel by Alice Hoffman, and I was like, wait a second, I know Alice Hoffman. She's a writer that I've heard a lot about, and I want to read some of her other books. And as of now, this is the only one of hers that I have read. But this book was kind of disappointing to me. It was a slower read. It was hard to get through. It doesn't have as much magic as the movie. It doesn't have as much of that sort of feeling of sisterhood. It is about female characters. It is about them sort of dealing with a lot of trials that women go through. It had such beautiful little bits and pieces, but what it feels like with this is that the movie took out all the most beautiful bits and pieces and then just built on them and made just such a magical, beautiful little world. And it's almost like the book tried to do too much. It covered so much ground, and the movie really focused in on the two sisters, whereas the book actually focuses not only on the two sisters that are in the movie, but also on the two daughters of one of the sisters. It focuses in on them more as well. And there's just a lot going on. I like the focus of the movie. I like the more supernatural elements that are only in the movie. I did pick it up thinking that I would get so much more from the book, thinking oh my god, I love the movie, so the book's going to be amazing and I'm going to learn so much more about the characters and it's going to be just such beautiful writing, because I know Alice Hoffman is a really talented writer. But it still is it's a really cool book on its own. But if you're reading it because you're hoping to get the same vibes as the movie plus more, you're going to be a little disappointed. It's sad but true. But I could tell from the writing that she is an amazingly talented author, and I really am very excited to read some of her other books in the future. So this tag was something that I've been really looking forward to filming for a long time, and I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys don't hate me now. Don't hate me, please. I swear I like a lot of books too. I don't just hate on books, or I wouldn't have a booktube channel. But yeah, I hope that maybe some of you guys could relate. Let me know below if you agree with any of the stuff I was saying. But I think going forward, I might actually be able to make 2 videos a week happen. It should be on Mondays and Thursdays. So give me a subscribe if you want to see more of my content. I'm really just enjoying the sense of community. So thank you so much to those of you who have subscribed and who are commenting on my videos. That is the most fun for me, is actually getting to talk to other readers and communicate. Give me a follow on my Bookstagram. I'm going to try to be more active there. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope everyone is staying safe and doing well. See you guys next time. Bye!